Shalom, shalom, Yasharala. This is your brother Abaniah of the South Arm of the Trinidad GMS Camp, Heralds of Yahushai, coming to you with another lesson and a dream. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. But first, we give all honor, all glory, all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles, prophets, and teachers of Great Millstone, who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the sincere Akim and Akwat, who are following this truth in all diligence and all sincerity. Now, this was a dream that I had, as I said in the previous video, that I wanted to do, that I was doing after because of the length of the first one, where, I had a dream from the Lord where I wouldn't tell all it. Let me phrase the dream this way. I had a dream about Leviathan. So before I get into the details, I just want to read this. I have 3 precepts. I'll just read in this first precept, and then I would get into the dream. It says, "Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put an hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? Will he make a covenant with thee? Will thou take him for a servant forever? Will thou play with him as with a bird, or will thou bind him for thy maiden?" Right? Now I want to drop down in Loani chapter, where, picking it up from I'll start from verse 23, because you go 23 all the way down to verse 30, right? And you go see the reason why I went it when I go into the dream. It said, "The flakes of his flesh are joined together. They are firm in themselves. They cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as a stone, yea, as hard as a piece of the nether millstone. When he raiseth up himself, the mighty are afraid. By reason of breakings, they purify themselves. The sword of him that layeth at hold, Salakia, the sword of him that layeth at him can hold the spear and the dart, nor the habergeon." Now when you talk about verse 25, when he raised up himself, the mighty are afraid, because when the Leviathan actually stands upright, it's a terrible sight. And when they say by reasons, the mighty are afraid, by reasons of breakings, they purify themselves, it's talking about the shit and they piss themselves. It's such a terrifying sight. Their body functions, they lose all control of their body functions. They literally pee and defecate on themselves at the sight of Leviathan. Verse 27, "He esteemeth iron as straw, and brass as rotting wood." Now, as I said, remember this, because we're going to go back and touch it after I finish the dream. "The arrows cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned with him into stubble. Darts are counted as stubble, and he laughed at the shaking of a spear. Sharp stones are under him. He spreadeth sharp pointed things upon the mire." Now, this is the dream. This dream I received from the Lord a little over a year ago. I was in a ship, an underwater ship, a submarine. Now, it wasn't me alone. It was me, and there was an angel with me. Now, there were persons on the ship, a crew, but they couldn't see us, but we could see them. So I was going through the ship and realizing it's a submarine based on the 8 instruments that you see in submarine, but they were far more advanced. Now, each crew member was wearing a particular type of suit. For those of you who watch Aquaman, you know that Aquaman had a villain called Black Manta. And Black Manta had a crew. And they wear special types of bodysuits to deal with the underwater pressure. that could withstand the pressure of being deep in the ocean. These people, this crew, everyone on the crew was wearing suits like that. And the suit had a light that went from the back of the neck down to the base of the spine that used to show the vitals. You know, they could tell the vitals based on that light. And seeing everyone in this suit, the angel of the Lord took me then to the engine room because I was curious as to what could power a ship like this. Because this didn't seem like any ordinary submarine. It was far advanced. And based on the technology I saw, based on the suits the crew wore, and the instruments, I was wondering what the engine room would be like that powers this ship. And when we went to the engine room, there was no turbines like how you see it in those old movies, you know. There was a nuclear reactor. It's not too small. It was of a decent size, but not taking up the whole engine room. And this nuclear reactor was what they used to power the ship because of all the instruments and stuff. They needed significant power to power the ship. And this ship was pretty quick underwater. So while watching the power supply, the power source of this ship, right? Alarms went off. Alarms went off, you know, when there's threat of a collision or enemy attack, the alarms start to blare loudly, and the lights, the amber lights started to flash. And then you're hearing the hustle and the bustle of the crew. Now the angel of the Lord phased me through the ship into the water now. I was phased through the ship into the water. Now, when we phased into the water, I could tell all the people, and I lie not, this was an extremely large cavern. This cavern was so large it could literally fit countries there. It was so large. Because how I know it was a cavern, because overhead you could see the earth. Like how a cavern does look. It looked exactly like that. Now, the angel allowed me to see her, so I was seeing everything. So while outside the submarine in the water, I seen the ships. There were other ships like the ship I was on, but they were broken in half. Broken in half. Now the type of it's to note that the type of material you need or metal you need to withstand that type of depth and that pressure, this had to be a significantly strong alloy. But these ships were broken in half. Even the ship that I just phased through was struck and broken in half. And you see in the crew body in the water. Now remember, I told you at their back, there was a light running from their neck down to the base of their spine, indicating their vitals. And you saw that light going from a bright light all the way down to red, which would indicate that the crew member died. And the body was, the water was littered with bodies. And these ships were, man, if you see how these ships were broken into. And I turned to the left to see what could have been responsible. And while I turned to the left, there was this outline, this shape, this body, a very huge creature, people. Very huge, standing in that cavern. Extremely huge. I can't even stress enough on how tall this creature was. No, it was not the Lord's will for I to see physical features to tell you this is what it looked like. But nevertheless, I could have discerned the form. Terrifying. Terrifying. The eyes were glowing. And I asked the angel, what is this? The angel told me this is Leviathan. And I woke up out of the dream. Now remember what I said in the dream, that while I was in the engine room, the alarms blared like there was an attack. which goes back to what I just read. Right? In Job chapter 41, I'm going to read it over from verse 23 onward. It said, the flakes of his flesh are joined together. They are firm in themselves, they cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as a stone, yea, as hard as a piece of a nether millstone. When he raised up himself, because remember I told you he was upright. The mighty are afraid, by reason of breakings they purify themselves. The sword of him that layeth at him cannot hold. The spear, the dart, and the habergeon. A habergeon would be a javelin. Now, a sophisticated ship like this would obviously carry sophisticated weapons. They were of no avail to Leviathan. He esteemed iron as straw. What did I tell you, people? These submarines at that depth had to have been made from a very strong alloy. Yet he was able to break them in half. He esteemed iron as straw and brass as rotten wood. The arrows cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned with him into stubble. Darts are counted as stubble. He laughed at the shaking of a spear. Sharp stones are under him. He spread sharp pointed things upon the mire. So, when the Lord showed me that dream, I held on to it for years. I talked about it very few times with a couple persons, not really going into details, because usually people don't believe what I say. And I myself was questioning. But since the Lord bringing me to this point, I have the confidence to share these things that the Lord showed me before. Leviathan is real, people. Leviathan is real. Esau Edom has technologies that you people has not seen. Esau Edom has underwater bunkers. He has highly sophisticated submarines. Highly sophisticated weapons. But take comfort, Israel, because these weapons can't even defeat Leviathan. It definitely cannot defeat Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So I just want to go into the other precepts. Psalms 104 verse 26. Psalms 104 verse 26. It says, I will start from verse 24. O Yahweh, how manifold are thy works? Meaning the Lord works are many. Don't think you've seen all the Lord works. In wisdom hast thou made them all. The earth is full of thy riches. So is this great and wide sea, because there are things in the ocean you people would tremble to know exist there. And the main one is Leviathan. So this is great. So is this great and wide sea, wherein are things creeping innumerable, both small and great beasts. Or you think the biggest animal in the ocean is a blue whale? They are creatures far exceeding the size and length of a blue whale. A blue whale dwarfs in comparison to these creatures. There go the ships. There is that Leviathan whom thou hast made to play therein. These wait all upon thee, that thou mayest give them their meat in due season. So there are things in the ocean you people have no idea. And Leviathan is one of them. Let's get 2 Ezra. 2 Ezra chapter 6. Start from verse 47. It says, upon the 5th day thou sayest unto the 7th part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures. So it's talking about the waters. This is why there is more water on the earth than land. That it shall bring forth living creatures, fowls and fishes, and so it came to pass. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandments of power, that all people might praise thy wondrous works. Then didst thou ordain 2 living creatures. The one thou callest Enoch, and Enoch is the one belong on land, and the other Leviathan. Right? Verse 50. And didst separate one from the other. For the 7th part, namely, that 7th part refers to your oceans, namely, where the waters were gathered together, might not hold them both. Unto Enoch thou givest 1 part, which was dried up the 3rd day. It's talking about the land, that he should dwell in the same part wherein are 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan thou givest the 7th part, namely, the moist, that is talking about your oceans, and hast kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt and when. So Leviathan is just waiting on the Lord's command. And in that dream, I saw Leviathan. As Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai live, and as the angel was showing me, I saw Leviathan destroying the ships of Esau Edom, those sophisticated submarines. So with that, I pray that this lesson was edifying. This is your brother Abaniah of the South Arm of the Trinidad GMS Camp, Heralds of Yahushai, saying Shalom till the next lesson.